In the small Louisiana town of Walker, a group of friends have come together to remember their basketball days at Walker High School. These women, along with their beloved coach, are dedicated to keeping their friendships and memories alive and to celebrating the coach who taught them so many important life lessons. This is their story of dedication, friendships, and basketball.
I was a coach at Walker High School from 1974 through 1978. Mr. Morgan had called me looking for a basketball coach, and I had told him, if you can't find anybody, give me a call tomorrow. Well, guess what? I got that call tomorrow. And I said, I'll take it. And then never have played basketball, but I had a lot of folks who helped me. A lot of those guys were extremely helpful in coaching basketball. They would beat you tonight, but they would certainly share with you tomorrow. And I was eager for all that because to this day I still don't like to lose at anything. Nothing at all.
Well, I think for me, my greatest memories are all the friendships that we had. And we started knowing each other way before we played basketball. Most of us in elementary. I knew Susie, not so much from class, but her sisters. We had older sisters who played basketball together. And then Teresa and I think in 4th grade, maybe were in class together for the first time. And Faye and I started together in 1st grade.
I was on the team, the Walker High School girls, and my nickname was Giblet Butt, and I'm not really sure how I got that, but and I'm not sure if the coach before Warren and it got handed down, but anyway, I was Giblet.
And I probably played basketball at Walker Junior High from 6th grade and up through high school, started in the 9th grade as a freshman under Mr. Curtis and played for the 4 years with him.
The 5 starters, we played basketball together for a long time. We grew up together, especially me and Stacy and Faye. We started 1st grade together. Bobby came a little bit later. I think she came when we were in the 5th grade. And then Susie was a year older than us, even though we grew up with her. She was still a year older than us.
My years didn't necessarily start with Mr. Curtis. They started with Miss Varnaday.
People will ask me to this day, what probably was your most favorite time in coaching basketball? And certainly from the dedication that all the ladies had, because we practiced from 9 to 12 every Tuesday and Thursday. During the summer, I believed in it, believed in practice. You never start out saying, we're going to win this, we're going to win that. I always had a feeling that we're going to do our best, and our best is going to be better than you. When I shook hands with my friends and say, have a good game, as soon as I let go of that hand, I'm saying in my mind, and I did, I'm fixed to whip you. I'm going to show you how it's done. I took pleasure not only in having that attitude, I hated losing. There are many times, 28 times in fact, that we lost in the 4 years. I would sit up at that gym at night with those emergency lights on, and I would put 5 pieces of paper on the floor, and I'd put a basketball on that paper, and I'd move it around to see what it looked like, where we made an error.
And Buster got stronger. He got stronger with his coaching abilities and making us be better. And I don't know why, that's the only sport that we had when we were kids. There was no baseball, no volleyball, no swim teams. We had basketball, that was it, that was us. So we started out when we were freshmen just running and running and running. And to this day, I can't even tell you how many lines, how many duck walks, how many sprints, how much we ran. And I'm not sure if that made us good or it just disciplined us, but we ran.
I was a horrible shooter. I didn't want to shoot the ball, and when I shot the ball, I embarrassed myself half to death. It always wouldn't even hardly hit the goal, so I loved defense because I knew I was good at defense. So I could steal a ball, I could get a ball, I could do all of that. I just remember being terrified and bringing the ball down the court. And but I always knew Stacy was there to get my back, you know. It's just like we just had some kind of contact to where we just knew, you know, when she got in a bind, she threw it to, you know, and so anyway, and our whole team was like that. We played as a team.
When I would guard the girl that had the basketball, and as soon as she did a fake head pump, off the floor I would go like a jackrabbit, straight up in the air. And of course she took advantage of that, and she dribbled underneath me and went to the goal and scored. And I don't know how many times I was sit on the bench because of it, and Buster yelling and screaming at me about, you know, he had been trying to, you know, instill that in me that I needed to keep my butt down and my feet on the floor. So what's so funny about it is that there was a picture of me in the paper, full stride, straight up in the air. And it was just confirming that what Buster had tried to teach me about, you know, this defense move where I needed to stay down. And it took me a long time to finally do it.
And then we played a team out about Bell Chase, and he said apparently they had scouted us and they knew that I was going to shoot a lot, so and that Susie Campbell didn't. So before the game, they hadn't seen us. The coach hadn't seen us physically. He just knew the numbers. So what he did was have our switch jerseys, so that Susie said they were all over her the whole game. And yeah, and we barely won that game, so that worked out pretty well. And that's the year we went to state, I think.
We had played together for so long, for so many years. To a large degree, I think that was a big advantage for us. We could anticipate each other's moves. We knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, you know, on the court. Since we had played together for so long, Buster picked up on that. He could recognize our strengths and weaknesses as well. But another advantage was, which is very interesting for teenage girls, is there was never any drama. We didn't bicker. I don't ever remember there being any situation where there was any type of squabble on or off the court between any of us, which is very rare for teenage girls. And then on top of that, to have a coach that recognized all of that, to be that level of a coach, to recognize it and to bring all of those things together. And I think those were the advantages for not only our skills whenever we won the championship, but it was those things that had been culminating over all the many years.
The most satisfying win was the 4 overtime win against Pine. State championship, absolutely. District championships, absolutely. Beating teams within your own district, such as Albany, which was had a positive, really reflection on coaching basketball. But that 4 overtime win was the most satisfying win I ever had, ever.
I loved basketball, you know, I did, and we went to state and won that sucker. We went in my junior year, but we didn't win. We lost in the semifinals, but went back my senior year, and we won.
I got to start a little bit my freshman year, and then got to start the next 3 years. And basically, I shot a lot. That was my main thing. And like everybody, I guess, winning state was a great memory. You know, right after the game, within minutes, Faye broke the trophy. And it was moments, you know, it was a great moment.
At state in 1977, after the game, we had won, and you know, we young girls, and we all excited and happy, and I walked by the trophy and I break it within 10 minutes of us receiving it. And I cried like a little titty baby, and but it was all fun and games. It's still glued together. If you go to the school and look at it, it's still glued, same old thing.
Championship game and the championship season is like lightning in a bottle, is the best way I can describe it, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and anyone that's ever part of a championship season knows what I'm saying. And so I can remember the ball game just kind of in some memory flashes. I know that everyone has different memories about it, but I do remember not being afraid of winning. I remember being nervous at other games, but not so much the championship game. I think that probably just comes from knowing we had done all the work that we were supposed to do to be winners.
I could see the girl coming, And when she come around with her elbow and she cracked my nose off my face. Blood went everywhere. It was a terrible, tragic scene, and I broke my nose. Well, that was probably a couple weeks before we went to state finals. And to be allowed to play in the state finals, I had to get, they didn't have braces or casts for your nose. They had these nose guards, and it looked like a big old jock strap. And I loved this game so much, and my sisters so much. I put this nose guard on with pride and went out in front of God and everybody and played my butt off. Now, because of it being a nose guard, the cameras loved me. Loved the girl with the jock strap. And I got plenty of photos. My daddy saved every one of them. Have a book of 10 inches thick. And that was the state finals. That was our state championship game I wore. That's my memory of it. That is my memory. We won, yeehaw! And I wore a nose guard.
Unfortunately, I would get nervous before every ball game. And I'd throw up before every ball game. I just did. I just did. I didn't care if I knew we were maybe going to win by 40 points or be close. Same repetition. Faye Bennett saying, "Why do you get sick like that? We got this thing." And I wanted to choke her because we had not even played that game yet.
I got no story.
We were talking about it.
Because he pulled us out of the game, wasn't he?
And I couldn't remember
He pulled
why.
all of us out of the game. And,
What game was it?
out in Albany.
That was the first district game we played.
And he didn't come in right after we all done went in there and was sitting on the floor. And I used to get a cramp in my big toe or little toe or something. And I'd have to massage my toe, so I had my shoe off. And I just hummed it. And then he hit the door. And about that time he hit the door, he walked in. And it's like,
I knew that you threw
does
it, but I
this
couldn't
belong
remember
to
why.
you? Yeah, it belongs to
The only person with a shoe off.
Many good stories. Faye throwing the shoe that night. Funny story at the time. I didn't think anything about it. I didn't want to make it comical or anything, you know.
I was guarding a girl, let's say her number was 14. I really don't remember her number. Big, redheaded gal, and we had been tussling and fighting and really going at it under the goal all night, and Buster was mad about it. And so when we went in halftime, I think we were down 1 point at half, and then as we were coming out to get started in the third quarter, Buster stopped me and he said, "I want you to go over and shake number 14's hand." And of course, he knew me well enough to know what my reaction was going to be. And immediately I said, "I am not." And so he knew what I was going to say. And he said, "Well, then you won't start the third quarter." And he turned around and he walked away. Didn't give me a chance to say anything else. Well, I was so mad I thought my head was going to blow off. So I head back to our bench, and I am really at a dilemma of what I'm going to do. But I knew I was not going to sit out the game. So I turned to go towards her, and I can see her now. I was coming, she had her back to me. And I walked up and I said something like, "Let's be good sports," or, you know, "Let's have a good game," something along those lines, some kind of language like that. And I stuck out my hand and she shook my hand. I don't remember her saying anything, but she shook my hand. And what I remember about it, and I can still hear it, the fans, the Walker fans just went crazy. And so I knew then it was confirming that I had made the right decision. And so I appreciate Buster giving me this lesson in humility, because it was a big decision for me to make, because I knew I didn't want to be a good sport and shake somebody's hand when we'd been fighting all night. But I knew I wasn't about to not play in the game.
Green warm-up things we wore were hideous. They were horrible. They really were. But we wore them. We were proud of them, and we walked in the building. Warren said it was a mental thing. He wanted people to know when we walked in the building, and by George, they did know. You know, these green monsters coming in the building.
I've never been the kind of guy who I never liked the light. I always wanted them to have the light. Never been. I've always hated that in anything I've done in life.
It's been a blessing to be able to reconnect with Buster and the girls and to reminisce about our championship season, of course, but then for it to come full circle and for us to be inducted into the Walker High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I feel like that we have carved out a little bit of history for our high school.
Certainly it's an honor, but it's the people who played basketball at Walker High School who put me there with them. I see all of us in that together.
44 years it's been since that state championship. Everyone on that team is still alive. And I can tell you, until recently, we had all gone our way. And we began to get back together. It was just like for them being out of recess and showing back up when I see them. And hear some of the tales they talk about that I didn't know about. But I thank you from my heart because Walker High School will always be really good.
It was just great. All the minutes were great, all the good times. They keep talking about practicing, but I'd go back and do it again and wear our polyester pantsuits again. Green polyester, yeah.
One of my fondest memories everybody has great memories, and all of us do because we weren't just a team, we were all sisters. We spent the majority of our high school years together. Here it is, 35, 40 years later. We can get together as a group and it's like we never left the basketball court. We're that close. It's like we never left that locker room. And that's one of the fondest memories I've had, and that was a part of our growing up. And I loved every minute of it. And that's what made me who I am today.
Y'all were my family. Y'all were my girls. Y'all were my family. I may raise Cain at you, but I loved you to death. Loved you to death. And would never do anything to hurt any of y'all. Never, never. I might get on you, crawl on you hard, but I knew where your breaking point was. Yours was different from somebody else. And I would push you to your limit and back up. I'd push her to a limit maybe beyond you and back up.
I have developed through the years this wonderful bond that I want to continue to embrace and the friendships that I will always cherish.
I mean, I'm 75 years old. I'm not stupid. My life ticks away every day. I guess I thought in coaching it would always be the next day. And then when I found out there ain't no more days, it just really grabbed a hold of me. And I've lived with that for all those years. And so to have this to come about, it's just like, wow, you waited this long, here it is. And look at the reward that's coming out of everything for that. So, yep, that's the way I feel about it.
Remember the good times, remember the bad, all the sadness and happiness we had. Remember tough games we lost, the games we won, all the bus rides and all the fun. Remember the sweat and remember the pain, all that we went through just to win a game. Remember the pep talks in the locker room, all the halftime speeches, timeout speeches that spelled doom. Remember summer practices, remember the cold, the practice with no heat, no lights, the time it snowed. Remember the Sweet 16 and thinking we were great, the joys of being number one and winning state. Remember the parties, remember the cheer, the end seemed so far away, but yet so near. Remember the banquets and the awards you carried by your side. They were carried with joy and carried with pride. Remember these memories are in the past, and there they'll remain for us to recall in our old days or to replay each game. Remember these experiences, remember them when you ask how, because they'll be the answers to your problems now. Remember all of this, that you must always do your best, because the future will answer if you pass the test. Remember the past is gone, the present is now, and the future will be. Perform your best so that you can say, I'm proud of me. Remember too that each of you, I'm very proud of all the time. I'll always cherish the memories of how each of you were once mine.
Go fight, win!